Here's a CNN Inside Politics view on the electoral map and Donald Trump's issues.
People view Labor Day as sort of the kickoff to the general election. Donald Trump says as we reach this point, the polls are closing in his direction, and to a degree, he's right. Let's take a look. Back at the beginning of the month, just after the conventions, Hillary Clinton had a 10-point lead in the national polls. These are averaging out all of the national polls. If you look at the most recent ones, Hillary Clinton's lead is down to 5 points over Donald Trump. So Donald Trump is right. In the national polls, the race is tightening from the beginning of the month. Here's Donald Trump's problem. When you go state by state through the key battlegrounds, Hillary Clinton is leading in all of them. Now, some of the leads are relatively small, but even Florida at the beginning of the month was 1. Now it's 4 on average. Ohio at the beginning of the month was 1. Now it's a 3-point Clinton lead. North Carolina, a very close race. Pennsylvania in single digits, but still that's a pretty comfortable lead, 7 points. Virginia has moved in Clinton's direction by even more. Her running mate helps there. Michigan, single digits, but a Clinton lead. Wisconsin, closer than a lot of people would think, but still a Clinton lead. Colorado, a big Clinton lead. That's the problem when you look at the battleground states, is that if the election were held today, by our projections, Hillary Clinton would already be over the top, 273 electoral votes. Donald Trump could win all of these yellow states, the toss-ups. He could win them all and not clinch the presidency. To get there, he's got to turn some of these that we lean blue. He's got to turn some of the blue red. Pennsylvania would be the biggest prize. Hillary Clinton, though, it's not over yet. One of her biggest weaknesses in this Rust Belt that Donald Trump is targeting, blue-collar voters. Joe Biden is trying to help.
Give me a break. Give me a break. This is a guy born with a silver spoon in his mouth that now he's choking on because his foot's in his mouth along with the spoon.
Gotta love Joe Biden. When you look at it, yes, the national polls have tightened, but Donald Trump is behind where Mitt Romney was at this point. Now, 2012 comparisons are a little off because the conventions were later. We were just coming out of the conventions. But when you go state by state, Dan, it's pretty damning. She has, I can give you 8 or 10 different ways she can get to 270 from where she is. If Donald Trump can't win Pennsylvania, then first he has to win Florida, North Carolina, and Ohio. No easy task. He's got 1 or 2 Pats, and they're tough.
And that's been the case from the very beginning. I mean, that's part of the problem of being a Republican nominee in this era. The map has been tilted toward the Democrats, so the Democratic nominee always has many more options, many more paths to get to 270, and that's what he's facing right now.
But when you talk to the Clinton campaign, you'll probably not find people more sober and conservative about their projections for November. And part of it is because they understand that the polls are going to kind of wobble. They're dealing with an unconventional candidate. And that's one of the reasons why they've invested so much in this ground game. When I talked to a Clinton ally, a donor, he said, I think that at the end of the day, she's going to get a 1 or 2 point edge from just having invested on the ground. That ground game that Trump is now trying to catch up on is going to be that sort of little edge that you might need if this race ends up being close. And that edge will show up mostly in the states, not in these national polls. That's why you're seeing some of these margins in places like Virginia and Colorado widening like they are.
Right, we saw that in 2012 and in 2008. But 2008, you had the historical year, and Republicans were going to lose. In 2012, Romney was within a point or 2 late in the race most of the time, but then he lost on election day in part because the Democrats just had a far superior ground game. He lost most of the close ones. North Carolina went his way, Florida was very close, Ohio was very close, but they went the Democrats' way because of that ground operation. Donald Trump is, after a long time not being on television, now he is running ads in some of the key battleground states, and they focus on issue number 1, the economy.
In Hillary Clinton's America, the middle class gets crushed. Spending goes up. Taxes go up. Donald Trump's America, working families get tax relief. Millions of new jobs created. Wages go up. Small businesses thrive. The American dream achievable. Change that makes America great again.
But even as Trump gets in this game, I want to just show the spending this week from August 30th through just after Labor Day. Clinton is still outspending Donald Trump. Pro-Clinton forces, the Clinton campaign and pro-Clinton super PACs, $10.7 million to $7.3 million. And this will change because Donald Trump buys his ads week to week the way they do their campaigning. But look at the time that's been reserved already. Nearly $160 million reserved by the Clinton campaign and her pro-Clinton super PACs to only $12 million for the Trump campaign and its friends. Again, that number will change, but he won't get to parity because he doesn't have the money.
Right, exactly. And when you reserve ahead, you often lock in better rates. So that's another advantage of being better organized. And you're also seeing the Clinton campaign in some of these states after Trump's immigration speech. They went up with a six-figure buy in Arizona, which is not typically a state, you know, that the Democrats feel like they can compete in. So they are really trying to expand the map and run up the margin sort of in these battlegrounds on a state-by-state basis.
And what you don't see in that mix is a Spanish language version of that ad in Nevada, in Florida, in places where you show it tight, you show toss-up races, places where he could potentially move the margins and where he could further his goal of trying to drive up his numbers with some minority voters, but so far the campaign hasn't even made an attempt to do that.
The conversation among most Republicans, Dan, is that he has this 3 weeks until the debate to try to somehow, you know, to make the map better before the first debate and then have a breakthrough performance or...
Yes, although, you know, historically, this period before the debates is kind of frozen. Because there's so much anticipation about the debate, so the ability to move things in this 3-week period will be difficult. I just wanted to note that we have a very deep look at all of the states coming up early this week, which gives you a broader sense and a deeper sense of kind of where this campaign stands.
And no sneak previews?
Well,
I'm a subscriber.
We're going through a mountain of data right now.
Right, and you get the sense that you said talk about the Clinton people being sober about this, but they also look at the Trump campaign and they look at this organization. They say there's nobody in there who's done this.
Right. There's nobody who's done this. And, you know, the RNC was trying to create this amazing ground game that their nominee could just sort of plug into. But they assumed that the nominee would show up with a basic competency of how to run a ground game and how to compete in battleground states. And because there are so many people who haven't done that before, they really haven't gotten that from the Trump campaign. And at a certain point, it's just too late to build that out. I think they're trying. They've certainly said that you're going to see a big expansion in places like Florida, but at least at this point, we're just not really seeing that come to fruition quite yet.
Better hurry. Our reporters share from their notebooks next, including Hillary Clinton's end of summer back to campaign plan. Let's head around the inside politics table, ask our great reporters to get you out ahead of the big political news just around the corner. Ashley Parker.
So in recent weeks, Governor Mike Pence has been quietly talking to Senate Republicans about hitting the campaign trail and helping them. And the original thinking was that he's less toxic than Donald Trump and he can go into some of these states where Trump isn't welcome and kind of help out. But you'll notice he actually hasn't held any major events, which raises the question, does Mike Pence bring sort of too much downside, which is basically the stench of Trump, and not enough celebrity upside? So that's something I'm going to be watching for to see if he does actually appear with these candidates to campaign.
That shows up on the resume, less toxic than Donald Trump. Dan?
John, this is the season in which the political scientists weigh in on what's actually going to happen in the election. We spend a lot of time talking about polls. We spend a lot of time talking about the candidates. In fact, the fundamentals often make the difference. There are a number of forecasts that have been done or about to be published. Most of them favor Hillary Clinton. Most of them project that Hillary Clinton will win, but there are at least 2 that say Donald Trump will win. And one of the authors of one of those, Alan Abramowitz, an eminent political scientist, is openly hoping that his model, which is called Time for Change and calls for a Trump victory, will actually be wrong because he's so anti-Trump.
It's the Super Bowl time for political scientists. We'll see whose forecast is right. Sarah?
Well, unlike Hillary Clinton, who has been raking in the cash, Donald Trump is facing a little bit of a cash pinch. He really only has until October 15th, sources say, if he wants to raise this money and be able to spend it effectively before Election Day. But because they are so frenzied about their scheduling, they make plans at the last minute. It makes it very hard to schedule fundraisers. And he's obviously going to need to spend more time campaigning and less time raising money in these last couple of months. And that means that all hands are on deck. Ivanka Trump, Don Jr., Eric Trump are all expected to be hosted fundraisers in the next few weeks. But some big Trump backers are saying that if he wants to be competitive when it comes to cash, he's going to need to write his campaign another big check.
Yeah, wait for that. Wait for that one. Abby?
Well, it's been a relatively sleepy August for Team Clinton, and this week we're going to see really the final blitz starting. Bill Clinton's going to be out there. Bernie Sanders is going to be out there for the first time since the conventions. In the subsequent weeks, we're going to see Barack Obama, Chelsea Clinton. Everyone is going to be hitting the trail. This is going to be not only the start of the stumping, but also a TV blitz. We're going to start seeing on Monday some Spanish language TV ads hitting the airwaves. This is really what all of those days and weeks of fundraising is all leading up to. They are going to really blast the airwaves for the next several months going to Election Day.
Make all that August fundraising she hopes to pay off. I'll close with this. Republicans enter the final stretch of their bid to retain control of the Senate with little or no room for error in a handful of very competitive races. Democrats need a net gain of 4 seats, assuming Hillary Clinton wins the presidency, because the vice president would then break a 50-50 tie. A gain of 5 seats would give the Democrats 51, no matter who wins. At the Labor Day mark, Republicans see 3 GOP-held seats already as likely lost causes: Illinois, Wisconsin, and Indiana. They feel confident about holding once believed to be competitive seats, GOP-held seats in Arizona, Florida, and they're increasingly confident about Ohio. But 3 other Republican-held seats are at risk, all of them in major presidential battlegrounds: Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, and North Carolina. If Republicans can somehow win 2 of those 3, and assuming they're right about the others, control could come down to Nevada, the one state where Republicans have a shot at picking up a seat now held by a Democrat. Not just the presidential race we're going to have fun with over the next 65 days. That's it for Inside Politics again.
All right, I thought that was pretty good.